For decades, Alan Jackson stood tall as the unshakable symbol of traditional country music, the humble cowboy with a golden voice, a heart full of faith, and a name that echoed family values and Southern grace. With his iconic hat, soft smile, and lyrics that touched millions, he seemed like the last good man in a changing world. No scandals. No noise. Just a man who stayed true to who he was. But behind that quiet charm and perfect image, there was something he never said. Something that even his closest fans couldn't quite put their finger on. Until now. There were whispers, not quite gossip, but quiet interest in what Alan Jackson's life was like behind closed doors. Was everything really as perfect as it seemed? The truth has finally come out, and it's not what anyone had in mind. Alan Jackson is a traditional country music icon. He was born to Joseph Eugene Daddy Gene Jackson and Ruth Music Mama Ruth Jackson in Newnan, Georgia. He was the youngest of 5 children and grew up with his 4 older sisters in a small house that was built around his grandfather's tool shed. Mostly English, and his mom lived in that small house until she died in 2017. Jackson started writing music in 1983, but his musical background began much earlier. As a child, he was exposed to gospel music, but that changed when a friend introduced him to country stars like Gene Watson, John Anderson, and Hank Williams Jr. Jackson went to Elm Street Elementary and then Newnan High School, and after graduation, he got a spot in a band called Dixie Steel. Blue-collar jobs like construction and forklift driving while playing in small clubs across Georgia. By the mid-1990s, Jackson was one of the biggest names in country music. His greatest hits collection came out in 1995 with 17 hits and 2 new songs that both went to number 1. His 1996 album Everything I Love had the number 1 hit, Little Bitty, and other hits, but it also had his first single in years that didn't make it into the top 10. In 1998, Right on the Money was added to High Mileage, which went to number 1. The next year, he made. Jackson took a risk with his style by releasing Under the Influence, a disc of standard country covers that kept his traditional style alive in a country music scene that was mostly influenced by pop music. At the 1999 CMA Awards, Jackson interrupted his performance to sing George Jones's songs after Jones had been asked to cut his performance short and walked off stage. As the 2000s began, Jackson continued to support traditional country music by recording Murder on Music Row with George Strait. Even though it wasn't technically a single, the song caused a lot of controversy and uproar. Jackson was still a shining example in an industry that was moving toward pop country after the 9/11 attacks. He put out Where Were You When the World Stopped Turning, which struck a chord with Americans and was a huge hit. The song was first performed live at the CMA Awards and quickly got a lot of airplay on the radio and was included on Jackson's 2002 release drive. He released his second Christmas album, Let It Be Christmas, and a duet with Jeannie Kendall called Timeless and True Love for her solo album in 2006. He honored his mother's dream by making a gospel album called Precious Memories, which sold over 1.8 million copies. That same year, he tried a new sound with Red on a Rose, which was produced by Alison Krauss. The album moved away from his country roots and toward softer rock, which caused a split among his fans and did poorly at the box office. He then went back to his original sound. Jackson returned to his roots with Good Time in 2008, which included hits like Small-Town Southern Man and Sissy's Song, a tribute to a family friend who died in a motorcycle accident. His 16th studio album, Freight Train, came out in 2010, and it was followed by 34 Number Ones, a compilation album with his duet with Zac Brown Band on As She's Walking Away. That same year, Jackson left Arista Nashville and signed a new deal with EMI Records Nashville, working together with his old label, ACR. In 2012, he released 30 albums. Miles West, but none of its singles made it into the top 20. He then released a second gospel album called Precious Memories Volume 2 and a bluegrass album called The Bluegrass Album. Both did well on the bluegrass and country charts in 2014. Jackson was given a special display at the Country Music Hall of Fame to honor his 25-year career. In 2015, he started his Keeping It Country anniversary tour, and later that year, his 20th studio album Angels and Alcohol came out. In 2016, Jackson was chosen to represent one of 30 artists. Alan Jackson's marriage to his high school sweetheart Denise on December 15, 1979, marked the 50th anniversary of the Country Music Association Awards and cemented his place as one of the genre's defining voices in country music. The couple has been through many good and bad times together, building a beautiful family along the way. They have 3 daughters, Maddie, born in 1990, Ollie, born in 1993, and Danny, born in 1997. In December 2022, the family further grew. Alan and Denise became grandparents for the first time in 1998 when their daughter Ollie and her husband Sam had their first child, a boy. Their relationship had some problems because Alan was famous and Denise had a busy music career, and the couple went their separate ways for a while. But they got back together, and they've been together ever since. Denise even wrote a book about their relationship called It's All About Him, Finding the Love of My Life, which became a New York Times bestseller. In 2008, she came back with a second book called The Road Home, which is a keepsake or gift book. Alan Jackson isn't the only musician in the family, his nephew Adam Wright is also a country music singer and songwriter. Adam and his wife Shannon tour as a duo called The Wrights, and they even got to record with Alan on his album What I Do, co-writing 2 tracks and singing background vocals. Jackson is also a cousin of ex-girlfriend. In 2009, Alan made headlines when he put his huge 135-acre estate outside of Franklin, Tennessee, on the market for $38 million. It was later sold for $28 million, making it one of the biggest home sales in the Nashville area. That same year, he bought another house in the same suburb for about $3 million. $6 million, though he also put that one up for sale a while later. Alan was friends with country music legend George Jones and wrote songs like Don't Rock the Jukebox and Just Play and Paw Some to honor their friendship. When Jones died in 2013, Alan sang his famous song, He Stopped Loving Her Today, at the funeral at the Grand Ole Opry. He is also close friends with George Strait and the two of them sang on Murder on Music Row. When Alan's not singing, he enjoys collecting classic cars. He owns valuable and rare cars like a 1968 Shelby GT 500KR convertible and a 1970s Chevrolet SS 396. Even though he has problems, he still faces life with poise and honesty. Where were you when the world stopped turning? Alan Jackson's emotional ballad about the September 11th attacks was criticized for being too simple and not political enough. The single, which was written just days after the attacks, tried to capture the nation's grief without going too far. Into political commentary Jackson said, I didn't want to write a patriotic song, I didn't want it to be vengeful either. Such a strategy found traction in many and the single became widely acclaimed and award-winning. Still others criticized that the song oversimplified issues. Ja Bartlett in a review for Pop Dose countered that the song celebrates its refusal to enact its ideals, positing it gave comfort without delving into the root causes or implications of the events. Moreover, the line of the song, I watch CNN but I'm not sure I could tell you the difference between Iraq and Iran, was noticed. Jackson meant to show how confused regular Americans were, but some took it to mean that people didn't know much about world events. The song didn't get a good response. In a 2002 episode of South Park, the show's creators made fun of it, saying that it made money off of national tragedy. Despite the negative reactions, Where Were You is still an important part of Jackson's career because it shows how the country felt after September 11th. While balancing personal expression with public expectation, protest at the 1999 CMA Awards, at the 1999 Country Music Association CMA Awards, Alan Jackson made a powerful statement that hit home with traditional country music fans. The trouble started when legendary country music artist George Jones was asked to sing his song choices during the awards show. The CMA asked Jones to sing a shortened version of the song, which caused Jackson to become embroiled in a scandal. He turned down the invitation because it made him feel bad. Alan Jackson, who was supposed to play his own single Papa Top, got up in the middle of the song, told his band to change songs, and started singing the Choices chorus in honor of Joan. This spontaneous act got a standing ovation. Jackson's protest wasn't just about supporting a fellow musician, it was a cry out against how the industry treats its legends. He later said, "George Jones isn't everyone, that's why I felt strongly about it that he deserved a little more than everyone else, it deserved a little more respect." The act sparked debate about professionalism and the ways to protest in the music business. Jackson was criticized for going against the rules, but many others praised his courage to stand up for what he thought was right. George Jones was deeply moved by the act and said, "What he did meant more to me than I could ever say." This was one of the most famous moments in CMA history, shows how important it is to honor artists' work and stand up for what's right. Walking out during Beyoncé's performance at the 2016 Country Music Association CMA Awards. Beyoncé's duet of "Daddy Lessons" with the Chicks caused a huge stir in the country music scene. While some fans liked the collaboration, others thought it moved away from traditional country music. Reports said that Alan Jackson, a vocal supporter of traditional country music, got up during. A manager from Nashville said, "I was sitting behind Alan Jackson, and he actually got up from the front row and walked out during the show." I think that said a lot for the traditional true country acts. The presence of Beyoncé, who is best known for her pop and R&B work, was seen by some as an attempt by the CMA to attract more viewers, but traditionalists thought that the awards show should only be for country artists. Travis Tritt was another artist who performed. A country music artist spoke out against the performance, saying, "I have nothing against Beyoncé, it's the CMA producers that I'm disappointed in. Country doesn't need pop acts for ratings." The performance was also criticized for more fundamental reasons, including race and the definition of the genre. Some audience members were accused of making racist comments during the performance, showing that there were still problems with inclusivity in the country music culture. Despite the controversy, most fans and artists rallied behind the singer. People saw the performance as a step toward making the genre more diverse. It showed how hard it is to keep country music's traditional values while also welcoming a bigger and more varied musical scene. Claims of genre purism. In 1999, George Strait and Alan Jackson sang "Murder on Music Row" at the Country Music Association CMA Awards show. The song directly criticized the rise of pop influences in country music, and the lyrics lamented the loss of traditional country sounds like steel guitar. Guitars and fiddles were being replaced by rock-era production and profit-making. The song's metaphorical murder of country music struck a chord with many fans who thought the genre was losing its true roots. Even though it wasn't released as a single, the performance got a lot of attention and caused a stir in the country music audience. Some praised the artists for standing up for traditional country music, while others saw it as a criticism of the industry's changing sound. The song's impact was felt when it "Murder on Music Row" won the CMA's Song of the Year award in 2001, sparking a debate about the future of country music. Over the years, it has remained a rallying cry for those who want to return to traditional country music. Its message is still relevant, capturing the ongoing struggle between commercial viability and artistic integrity in the genre. The record is still a landmark in country music history, representing the conflicts within the industry and the need to keep its defining characteristics. Alan Jackson's "It's All Right to Be a Redneck" caused a stir when it came out in 2001, even though the song was meant to celebrate rural American pride and identity. However, some critics and listeners believed that it reinforced stereotypes and didn't take into account larger cultural context. Lyrics like "It's All Right to Be a Redneck" were seen by some as enshrining a narrow and stereotypical view of rural life, while other critics said that the song's portrayal of redneck culture was inaccurate. It was released right after the September 11th attacks, which made some people wonder if it was smart to put out such a silly song during a time of national mourning. Despite the criticism, "It's All Right to Be a Redneck" was a big hit, reaching number 53 on the Billboard Hot Country Songs chart. The simple, catchy tune and lyrics made it appealing to a lot of people. Fans liked how the song promoted rural culture, but the controversy caused long-lasting conversations in country music about authenticity, representation, and the balance between tradition and modernization. Overall, even though It's Alright to Be a Redneck was a commercial hit, it also sparked debate about how country music represents rural culture and how songs can promote stereotypes. The scandal showed artists what a tough job it is when they have to balance cultural sensitivity and authenticity. Some critics and fans liked Alan Jackson's 2009 album I Still Like Bologna because it was a throwback to simpler times, while others thought it was anachronistic and based on old imagery. In the song, Jackson references modern conveniences like plasma TVs and cell phones, but he also says that he still loves a simple bologna sandwich on plain bread. He said that the song was meant to show the balance between enjoying new things and enjoying old things. It seemed like the perfect way to say, I'm aware of all the new technology and do adapt to some of it, but every once in a while I still enjoy that bologna on white bread, Jackson said. But despite its supposed message, the song was criticized as being too simple and stubbornly against modernity. Jonathan Keefe of Slant magazine said that the song throws away any serious attempts at reflection by just listing long lists of common points of reference, and Dan Millican of Country Universe said the same thing. As a result, the song didn't do well on the charts. It peaked at number 32 on the Billboard Hot Country Songs chart, making it Jackson's first single to not make it into the top 20 since 2000. While I Still Like Bologna's attempt to celebrate the coexistence of modern life and old-fashioned values, its implementation led to criticisms of its effectiveness and relevance in a rapidly changing musical environment. This is why Alan Jackson never takes the lead. Alan Jackson's white cowboy hat isn't just a fashion statement, it's part of a personal story that goes back to his teenage years. He's famous as the tall country star with the booming voice, guitar, and toe, and that famous white cowboy hat. But few people know that he started wearing the hat to hide something. When Alan was a teenager, he hit his head on a glass door and got a scar that will never go away. As with most teenagers, he felt self-conscious about how it looked, so instead of constantly blaming the scar or trying to hide it with makeup or bandages, he did something much more Alan Jackson. He put on a cowboy hat and never looked back. What started as a way to hide the scar turned into his trademark over time, and now it's hard to imagine him without it. Even his fans would probably miss something if he showed up without that famous hat. But there's more to the story. Have you ever seen his long hair sticking out from under the edge of his hat? That wasn't a fashion choice, it was because he was constantly touring and didn't have time for haircuts. His long hair just happened and became a part of his laid-back country image. So, even though Alan Jackson may seem to have carefully planned his image, with the cowboy hat, long hair, boots, and everything else, a lot of it came from real life. Alan Jackson, the country music star, has been known for his emotional lyrics, cowboy hat, and honest personality for a long time. But in 2021, he told the Today Show that he had been fighting Guillain-Barré tooth disease CMT, a genetic nerve disease for more than 10 years. I have this neuropathy and neurological disease, it's genetic that I got from my daddy. There is no cure, but it's been bothering me for years and is becoming more and more clear that CMT affects the nervous system, causing muscle weakness, trouble walking, and loss of balance. While it doesn't shorten life, it can make daily tasks like standing, walking, or even holding a microphone very difficult. Alan admitted that it wasn't easy for him to talk about this in public. I've been hesitant to talk about this to my fans, he said, but I felt it was time, especially since fans were starting to notice changes in his stage act. Now I'm having a little trouble balancing even in front of the microphone. I just feel really uneasy even though he's sick. Alan said he didn't want to end any of his tours and that he gets inspiration from traditional country greats like George Jones and Merle Haggard who played as long as they could. I'll try to do as much as I can, Alan said, encouraging fans to see him in concert while they still can. He looked to his wife Denise for support. They've been married since 1979, and she's been there for him through everything, even writing a memoir about their relationship. When I'm down, he picks me up, and when he's down, I try to pick him up, she told Today in 2024. Alan gave his fans a loving update by saying, I think it's just about time to start thinking about hanging it up full time. It's getting worse, and it makes me more uncomfortable on stage. But despite all that his passion for tune and his audience has sustained him, Alan's tale is not certainly considered one of a disease. It's far a tale of electricity, honesty and identifying to preserve on despite adversity. His daughter within the highlight. Alan Jackson's non-public lifestyles has tended to stay particularly low-key in comparison to his large country music career. However, his daughter Maddie Jackson Seligman currently hit the headlines for a few very intimate and uplifting motives. Maddie is not genuinely stated as being Alan's infant. She is a published author and girls' rights activist. She created Nashville, a social platform for helping and empowering girls, demonstrating that her pursuits are not merely tied to being linked to country music royalty. Maddie's lifestyles has also been no clean one. She misplaced her husband Ben Seligman in 2018 because of a freak accident. The tragic occurrence absolutely shook her and changed her notion of the sector. Maddie used her method of recovery and grieving in her writing, and in 2021 wrote a memoir referred to as Lemons. On Friday, the book discusses overtly about grief, faith and the way she located electricity throughout hard instances. It additionally has tips of ways her father Alan Jackson silently recommended her at some stage in such personal problems, even though he's someone who continues things to himself emotionally. The memoir presents readers with a window into how the own family copes with pain and recuperation out of the highlight. Other than Maddie's narrative, the fanatics have started to revisit Alan Jackson's songs with renewed attitude, asking themselves if his songs include layers of that means they never found out existed. Titles consisting of Power for Daddy Jean and In Which Have Been You, Whilst the Sector Stopped Turning sound easy at first, earnest and down-to-earth ballads on family and the 9/11's attacks respectively. However, some people consider that these songs can also be hiding extra non-public emotional reports and conflicts that Alan went via. The lyrics may not always be telling testimonies, they will be an echo of Alan's very own internal struggles and subdued emotions that he by no means spoke about. This has advanced a newfound appreciation for the tune of Alan, as his fans try and believe how his paintings might have been a means by using which he turned into capable of address and talk matters he stored to himself. Though he's well known for his easy tones and old-school country sound, there now appears to be an attention that his songs have greater depth of feeling than they appear to on the surface. It serves to remind us that beneath the slick song and movie star facade lies an individual along with his personal story of struggling love and endurance. So while Alan Jackson's existence and profession have continually spoken to such a lot of humans, his daughter's stories and the innuendos in his songs provide in addition richness to the manner we understand him. Not handiest as a rustic legend, however, as a father, a guy going through problems, and as an artist with complexities to be determined. While you have a look at everything we've got talked about, from controversies and criticism to non-public struggles and family testimonies, one thing turns into clean: Alan Jackson is more than simply a rustic music celebrity. He's a complex individual with robust ideals, a deep love for tradition and an actual, sometimes difficult human journey behind the curtain. He is no longer afraid to speak his mind, even supposing it means ruffling feathers. Whether it was protesting at some point of award indicates on foot out of performances he failed to agree with, or releasing songs that stirred up debate, Alan has always stayed authentic to what he thinks us of a track have to be. That sort of honesty might not make each person satisfied, however it does display how plenty he cares about the style at the equal time. Alan isn't always just some large-than-life celebrity. He is a dad, a husband and a person who's been quietly dealing with an extreme health condition for years. His courting together with his spouse Denise and his aid for his daughter Maddie indicates every other facet of him, a softer, extra personal side that does not continually make headlines. What certainly sticks out is how Alan has never attempted to be a person he's no longer. He hasn't observed trends or performed the famed sport as a substitute. He's constructed a legacy on staying grounded, writing from the heart and letting the tune do the speak. Me in the end, whether you accept as true with all his selections or not, there may be no denying that Alan Jackson has left an everlasting mark on country track, and as he faces the destiny with courage and a piece of unhappiness, enthusiasts round the arena will constantly do not forget the person at the back of the hat, no longer just for his hits, however for his coronary heart. In case you loved this deep exploration and found out something new, consider to present this video a thumbs up. It truly allows us out. And if you want greater testimonies like this packed with song untold truths and the human beings behind the legends, make certain to enroll in the channel and hit that notification bell so that you never miss an update. Thank you for looking, and we're going to see you within the next one.